Goodnow, revolutionaries, and welcome to the Rise Up Morning Show. Today is Thursday, March 12th. We're rounding out another week of shows, and I am so pleased to have you along for the ride, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. This is your place for helpful news, commentary, and, of course, answers to your crypto questions. I'm Evan, he's Alex, he's Will, and today I'm very excited to welcome our friend and now yours, Mr. Tom Guarisco, to the Rise Up Morning Show. Tom, how the heck are you doing, man?
Good morning, everybody. I'm doing very well this morning. Thank you so much for having me on.
Heck yeah, dude. I feel like it's been a long time coming. You've been an educational content creator for a while. We've been friends for a minute. You and Hannah made time to stop by our event at Consensus last year. We really got to have a great time, and I'm thrilled. So do you want to just quickly tell the folks back home who you are, what you do, in case they're not familiar with your work?
Absolutely. Yeah, so I do want to just make a quick comment on, we're coming up on a year now from when we visited you guys over in Toronto. And can I just say that week, if anybody who's a fan of crypto or blockchain gets a chance to go to one of these conventions, I'll admit I wasn't one of them to see the value in it initially from not having gone to one. Having gone to this one in particular, do it. It was such a stimulating week of constant friendship and just general interest in the same ideas and just trying to move forward the industry. I couldn't say enough. But anyways, onward and upward to your questions as far as what I do. In real life, I do a little bit of everything, as Tori and I were kind of briefly talking about. I live in a very small rural area. So very quickly, I realized that I couldn't just focus on one career path. So I run about 4 different businesses right now, ranging from real estate sales with my family brokerage to I'm a real estate appraiser with my father to I actually own a rental company that manages a rental right now. And then finally, last year, I was able to actually launch my what I call Midas LLC. And it is a digital asset strategies company where right now I just focus on staking and delegating and trying to get used to everything that is interesting within the DeFi space to make a profit. And then I actually use those profits to help fund things like going to Consensus and having tax write-offs that, ultimately better my understanding of the industry. So.
In the comments, several people saying hello, good morning. Caveman, friend of the show, who was there with us last year, says WTJ Ledger, big win.
Oh, well, Caveman Fantasy is such a good guy. And yeah, we got a chance to hang out in Consensus as well. And you guys put on a great little bowling gathering for the community. And again, thank you so much for that. That was awesome.
It was nothing, man.
I forgot that we bowled. That was
the main thing I remember from the conference.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. I liked
I was late.
I liked Caveman's socks. He had those XRP socks. I was like, oh shoot, dude, like the secret sneaky plug. And I really enjoyed. Did you win, Will, or did I win?
No,
I think I won.
You won.
I think I snuck up from behind and won. And I remember, that's right. I'm a terrible bowler. And so I feel like that was I don't know.
Everyone's a little bit of a slight to the rest of us, but
I'm a terrible bowler. So you all were garbage.
No, I just remember being really surprised, so surprised that I've forgotten it. But that was the best part. It really was getting to hang out with everybody, and it's the kind of stuff that I wish we could do with everybody who sits down and watches the show. But when we get to do it in one particular place with a group of people, it just makes it that much sweeter. Now, we're going to get back into some of the stuff that you do online and off in just a minute to help people understand crypto, digital assets. And of course, if you're playing along at home with us live and you've got a question, I would encourage you to leave it in the comments. Let us know if there's something you want to understand better about crypto, blockchain, digital assets, the technology that makes the internet even bigger and better, maybe a little scarier than it already is. And then if you're listening in the future, you can leave your questions in the comments or head on over to community.rumshq.com. Totally free to sign up. Takes about 2 minutes to create a profile, and then you're in the internet version of our bowling alley experience. It's a friendly, helpful place where the folks who watch this show and the folks learning crypto together come to learn. We would love to see you there. Will, I know you've got to head out a little early today, so I'd like to go first to a bit of a market update. What's going on?
So I'm going to try to share my screen, but for whatever reason, my internet just died again. And it only happens when we go live.
Dude.
Otherwise, like I fix it after the show and the internet speed immediately fixes itself and it maintains. But when we go live, my entire internet speed goes from like 400 megabytes a second to 20. And I don't know why, so I'll have to fix it. So I'm going to try to share, but if it doesn't work, let me know and I can just talk to it. Okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. Well, I think a lot of it is a StreamYard thing. I've actually had that before where like everything else on both computers and phone like around me is working really well, but StreamYard is giving me like a really weak signal and it just like nerfs my video. And it happened, I don't know, it was like happening every time for a while. And then randomly one day it was just like, all right, you're good.
Interesting. Okay, so I just have to wait and hope and pray, I guess. I'll run it through Claude and see if there's anything else I can do later. But
Correct.
In the meantime,
hope and pray.
Can everyone see my screen?
It looks Bitcoin and beautiful.
It looks Bitcoin and beautiful. Lovely. Let me get rid of this, guys. So Bitcoin right now, this is Bitcoin on the daily time frame. So every single candle here represents 1 day's worth of price action. And right now we're seeing some strength, and huzzah. I'm still very worried though. So talk about both those things. So we can still
the premature huzzah got me again.
Yeah. I mean, like Doug and I both, for those of you who don't know, Doug is my co-host on Rise Up Market Watch Monday nights. And we're both like, hey, yeah, Bitcoin could bounce here. After that though, oh man, we're very worried. So we had this large conjunction of resistance here between this white line we've drawn and the 12-day and the 21-day exponential moving average. We had a bullish breakout right here, but ended up being false because we broke back down below all this resistance again. However, when you have a false bullish breakout and immediately you get brought back above it, that false bullish breakout almost never happens again twice. You almost always have a legitimate rally after a false bullish breakout happens and you recover that support, okay? So think of it like a basketball player, like doing like a pump shot, and then getting the defender to go and then taking a shot and, getting it in the hoop, scoring a basket. It's been a while since I watched sports, but
that was very sporty.
Yes, very sporty.
Thank
and now Bitcoin is sitting on top of the 12 and the 21-day exponential moving average as support, which you'll notice it failed to do over here. So we're seeing more confirmations that Bitcoin's actually sitting in a pretty good spot to rally here. So in the short term, you can see a rally up to the first point of resistance at $73,760, which is the 55-day exponential moving average. And maybe it turns it into support and goes higher. If it does go higher, the major area of resistance to keep your eyes on is this big orange line, because it's the main line of resistance that we have from the beginning of this bear market, which was back in October.
Is that the straight one or the wavy one? We can't really see the color.
The straight one. Let me do this for you. There we go.
Nice.
This straight orange line right here. This is the, if we're below it, bear market. If we're above it, bull market, actually. So you could potentially see Bitcoin maybe rally up, touch this line, and then roll over. Or Bitcoin comes up, gets above this line, maybe bounces on it for a second, and then, has an opportunity to rally here, right? That would be the, bull market versus the bear market, even though, writing with a mouse is basically pointless. So that's the point. And if Bitcoin were to go straight up like today, that point would be $81,333. But obviously this line is slanting down. So this bull bear market line is going to, be lowered as time goes by. Okay. So that's where we're at. I would be shocked to see Bitcoin go up and kind of get above that level right now. And so that's what we're seeing, right? So maybe a short-term rally, but maybe not, because what we have over here for oil, which has just been skyrocketing since the Iran war. And currently in the pre-market, The price of oil has actually jumped up an additional an additional 6% at basically $15, $114 a barrel. If this continues higher and higher, then you should expect the stock market to sell off. You should then expect Bitcoin to sell off. So whatever positive TA you're seeing is potential short-term because of this monster of a macroeconomic domino we're seeing, where the price of oil since January has increased 71% and as high as 84%. And if we come to the monthly chart as well, if we just look at this from a pure TA standpoint, we're not in oversold territory yet, and this is clearly heading up to about $146 to $147 a barrel. That's a huge problem for stocks and also, therefore for Bitcoin most likely. Unless, of course, and I'll stop sharing here, unless, of course, somehow the entire market decides to go, hey, we're going to stop treating Bitcoin as a risk-on asset, and we're going to rotate now from stocks and gold and all that into Bitcoin because it's the only thing that hasn't run yet. The market does not view Bitcoin as that asset just yet. That is very fanciful and wishful thinking.
You're 100% right. I could not agree more. It is very much a risk on asset. I would say that even if it rotated into it, it would still be rotating into it because the risk on asset was now determined to be like, it's time. This one is now worth the risk. Still not a hedge.
From the comments, Leif said, oh man, I knew I should have bought an oil refinery earlier this year.
Yeah, should have done it. You just got to get some of that spare change you find in the couch.
There's a lot of sentiment.
I don't know what you were doing.
Damn. Fuck, why didn't you tell me?
Criminy,
I forgot to mention it.
Gross misrepresentation.
Oh. Yeah, you didn't disclose it.
You were busy running and setting up an oil refinery.
I was busy setting up all my oil stuff because I know
Classic
how that works.
Alex. Not disclosing his finances and then telling us about it when it benefits him to pump his bags. I feel like the sentiment in the comments is matching the sentiment I see everywhere else, that there's still a lot of pain to go, pain on the horizon. The only thing I am trying to think about buying aside from daily Bitcoin at this moment is I am kind of thinking, is it too late to get in? Maybe now's the perfect time to buy some oil futures on Hyperliquid, honestly, truly. Oh, man. Was that a one for me?
No, that was for the, is now the perfect time to buy? Now's the perfect time to buy.
Now's the perfect time to buy.
It's the perfect time
as I hand you my bag of oil.
Yeah, I thought maybe it was a gwump for profiteering off the tragedy, and I was like, yeah, I get it.
Well, yeah, also that's a perpetual gwump.
Definitely.
Although I have to mention that,
well, guys, don't worry about it. It's all over because Trump pulled a George W. Bush and basically said mission accomplished yesterday by saying we won, and we won in the first few hours. So don't worry, it's all over.
Yeah, but also earlier that day he said it could last until September.
Right.
Oh, okay.
It's that volatility in the narrative that even though it seems like a really great time and a really obvious time to get into something like that, man, it is just as risky as ever. But the scary part is people that are probably less restrained are looking at those same charts and those same short-term trends, and they probably don't have the market experience or discipline to hold themselves back, So anyways, that's my 2 cents on it.
Yeah, no, very true.
Yeah, I saw there was a when I was at your Facebook profile, there was a Ralph Wiggums picture where he's looking at Google and it says, I'm a researcher. And I do think there is a little bit of this confidence, like Dunning-Kruger effect at work, where when somebody gets some exposure, they start to understand it a little, or maybe before they understand it at all, they think they understand it enough to go heavily in.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Be real speculative. And this stuff is, it's risky.
Look at people though who, like, if you started paying attention to, risk on assets or things that maybe were traditionally looked at as investments over the last year, it's basically all turning into meme coins. Like all the charts, silver, gold, oil now. I mean, everything is behaving more and more like a meme, wherein there's no traditional trajectory that you could make some sort of safer, plan for. It's more just like, here's hoping I catch the swing going in the right direction instead of, jumping into oncoming traffic on accident.
It definitely makes it hard to make a informed decision when there's both a lot of information out there and a lot of not so great information. It's hard to kind of pick and choose what you want to act on.
Yeah, that's
Emily accidentally she made her final thought on trust issues this week all about primary versus secondary versus tertiary sourcing, and how you can specifically prompt like an LLM if you're using that to assist you with research and learning, specifically to only bring you citable primary sources with your information, which can help reduce the amount of hallucinations that happen. So, fun fact tidbit for you, if you're out there using a GPT, Claude, Perplexity, something like that, these things hallucinate quite a bit, actually quite substantially more than I even thought they did. But according to Sam Altman himself, the newest OpenAI model at the time of the publication of the paper was, I think, the O4 Mini had just dropped. So was this last September, October?
6 months ago, 8 months ago.
Something like
sounds
that.
about right.
48% hallucination. 48.
What?
Yeah, 48% hallucination in the answers. Specifically stated to be created that way to enhance the user experience, because otherwise 48% of your prompts would return, we don't know, which is just bad and makes it seem bad. So they would rather make it up and then hope that you, or just not care whether or not you look at the little thing that says like, hey, AI can make mistakes, be sure to double check. It's like, okay, how?
Oh, that seems overly on theme for what we're kind of seeing in the macro picture of things right now. You're seeing a lot more. I'd rather make things up than say I don't know and look into it. And
it's a speed thing, right? I mean, you got so many people competing for airspace and time that in order to seem more interesting or relevant or scary or pressure an audience into listening to you more consistently, make shit up when it makes you seem better. And then leave a little footnote that like, don't forget to fact check me. It's like, okay, first of all, who's doing that? Not everyone has a bearded.
Fact check yourself, brother.
Second of all, even if the damage is already done, like from the time that it happens, that's, the most people will take that one, and then it will create a lasting effect, even if it's immediately fact checked and disproven. So, just be careful. And the terminology that you want to focus on there in your prompting is, if you ask it a question, you can always just toss in, please cite your sources and please focus only on primary sources, or label a secondary source if you have to rely on one.
Yeah, for $5 definitions, primary just means direct, firsthand evidence. You're talking about an original document, an original painting, a quote from Alex that Alex is telling you about. A secondary source might be like a critique, an academic paper, an analysis of the work. If I was telling you something Alex told me, that's a secondary source. A tertiary source, you can think of it as like the turd. The first, the second, the primary is the first, then there's the secondary, which is the second, then there's the tertiary, which is the turd. That's how I remember it. Not that kind of turd. Thank you.
Very UP of you with that accent.
Oh, yeah, that's right there. This is like if you watch the morning show and you tell your friend about something you saw Alex say. So primary, secondary, tertiary. Yeah. Now,
was that an accurate Upper Peninsula of Michigan?
Well,
accent?
first I was doing a bit of a Scottish thing, like with the primary and the tertiary.
I was like, I didn't know the Upper Peninsula
but then
of Michigan's accent sounded like a bad Irish and or bad Indian accent somehow married together.
Listen, fella, that was an excellent by the book. I'm doing a different one now.
I was like, now you're doing Scottish.
If I was, but you could, if you were from the Upper Peninsula, you'd be you'd tertiary,
No.
Yeah, primary, secondary.
It sounds like a really bad Irish and really bad Indian accent. So this is really funny.
Wisconsin and Michigan kind of blend into the UP, and then of course with the UP being right there, you get a bit of that Canadian. But Scottish definitely is one of those accents that can easily blend right into it. I think it's the drinking. The drinking culture probably blends that line a little bit.
Alex, as a previous resident, would you care to weigh in with your expert analysis?
Are we done with the tertiary sources and now we would like to go to the primary source?
We're going straight to the horse's mouth now.
What a pivot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No. I in all my years in the UP have never encountered someone who sounds like that.
Who actually sounds like that? Like
Yeah,
asking
okay. I
out
was,
there
I
in
was
the
like,
moonlight?
no way this is the accent.
No,
of the
Christina's
Guarisco.
entire family is like born and raised there, lived there for her entire life. I went there for school. My parents live there. My sister lives there. Just for the record, I do have a little bit of experience. No one sounds like that.
You never been to Iron Mountain, eh?
There you
No
go.
one in history has ever sounded like that.
I have been to
Anywhere in
Iron
the
Mountain.
world.
I actually
Fun
one
fact,
time
that Iron Mountain comment struck really close to home.
I
That's
was
like one of the
yeah.
main towns that I run to if I run up there.
Deep cuts.
Yeah.
I crashed a snowmobile in Iron Mountain one time.
Oh no.
Ooh, a little bit of Alex lore.
Yeah, I was
Okay.
going like way too fast, and I went to take a turn, and I turned the handlebars, and the skis turned, and the snow machine kept going straight, and I was like, "Oh boy, here we go!" Just
Nope, I'm in the air. This is not good.
straight into a tree.
Yeah. Okay. We've got some questions on deck, including from Leif. Who serves the best pasty?
Side note:
That's
do
what I
have
want to know. How
there-
do you say it? Do you say, is it a pasty? Is it a pasty?
No, it's not a pasty.
It's a pasty.
Because
What
I
is-
have heard
what
some
is
people
this?
say pasty,
And
and
then
I've
I
been
have
like,
to go. But what is this?
You would
It's
love
a-
it, Will.
it's a
Actually,
type
right up
of-
your alley.
I think it's Polish, but it's very common in the northern Midwest. It's
I was
like
gonna say I don't know if it's Polish, German, but it got
It's
its origination from like the miners, the
pockets
people that
of
were
meat
working
and
down
dough.
in the mines, and this was kind of like their way to have a hearty meal that they would be able to bring down. So it was like a an
They're
old
good.
form of like a hot pocket.
Yeah, they're hot
Okay.
pockets basically. They're delicious, like meat, cheese, and dough.
Do you
So
want
a
me to
meat
just answer
pie.
the
It's a
question?
meat pie?
'Cause
What question?
they're from England, first of all. They're not
Oh.
from.
Are they?
Yes.
As
England.
also
You've
I mean, any
summoned-
type
you've
of
summoned
meat
my mother in
pie
the comments
is
now.
gonna be England.
Reporting
Yeah.
live from the UP right now.
I didn't know we were going that far back. Holy cow, we're traveling across the pond.
Okay, Will, you got to get out of here. I know you got to call in seconds, but the first thing I need is a final thought. The second thing I need is a little speculation about your shirt.
Oh, we have a partnership with Arculus again. Hooray!
We got the renewal, baby.
Huzzah!
We're excited.
So
about
now we're gonna shove these cards down all your throats. No. Yeah,
it. Maybe I
help
will get rid of this
education on hardware
XRP
wallets.
wallet. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll do like some giveaways and stuff, and we're working on getting the purple wallet again and all that. So it's just been taking time, like them working with the manufacturer to get the wallet done is just taking longer.
They had a big
So-
merger last year,
Yeah.
too.
But yeah, so we're partnered with Arculus again. Hooray! Money. We can pay our employees and pay our software fees. Hooray! Now, other than that, I do have to run, but crypto pumps here. A little bit of a rally doesn't forego all of the risk in the market still. So just keep your eyes on oil and the stock market because that's important for Bitcoin. And be patient. Yeah, you got a lot of time.
He's your friend and he's mine, Mr. William Watson.
See ya.
All right, we have got some questions coming in, plenty of places to take it, and I kind of would like to start just by way of transition here. We got a question from Jake the Dog 969 on YouTube. Good to see you, Jake. Any good recommendations on videos about leveraging? I'm considering trying it with small amounts, but I need a better understanding first. I would love to go around to the panel to see if you have any particular recommendations. I don't really participate in a ton of leverage trading personally. About as close as I get, which I think is a good introduction, might be something like a packaged product a la DeFi Carrot, which I'm glad to defer to you, Alex, to talk about. But Tom, do you do any kind of perpetuals, futures, leverage trading?
No, sir. Yeah, I'll be honest with you. That is definitely outside my realm. I do long-term investing plans as far as the short term, and I don't even mess with any kind of leverage. So I will leave that to you guys.
You know who I actually would recommend though? If you wanted a tutorial of that kind of trading, there's a YouTube creator I really like called Money ZG. I believe his name is James. He's English, and he does an excellent job of breaking things down super simply. Does a variety of videos on a lot of different topics, and they all look the same. His thumbnails look the same. His videos look the same. If you're in podcast land, you won't see this, but if you're on the screen share, here it is. It usually starts off, he'll be like, I'm going to teach you how to trade leverage on Hyperliquid. And then he gets right into it. Money, like the currency, ZG. or ZG. That's him. He's got a tutorial, crypto leverage trading. But Alex, you want to give the carrot pitch real quick, or the tokenized leverage products pitch?
There's two good ones. So you have DeFi Carrot and Hilo. I could throw them up, but effectively they offer a single token that wraps a leveraged long position. So you can buy a token the same way you would buy really any altcoin and hold on to it, and you're actually kind of trading very light leverage on something else. So they have one for Bitcoin, they have one for Solana, they have one for gold, they have one for Zcash. There's a couple others. And then Hilo is Solana only. So they have a product called XSOL, which functions similarly. These are much lower liquidation risk, but something good about them, if you're kind of starting and you wanted to learn more about that, is that you'll experience the more aggressive volatility. So on a day where Solana's price drops or climbs by 5%, something like XSOL or TurboSol would climb by 3 or 4 times that amount, or drop by 3 or 4 times that amount. It drops 10%. Solana's actual price does. These leverage products will go down 30 to 40%. So, because remember, it works both ways. But I would say 100%, like if you've never done it before, getting used to what those swings can feel like and how it changes the game, that's probably the move. Otherwise, no, I really can't offer. It's not something I participate in. I'm not a trader. I'm a situationally reactive swing trader, meaning like if I look at the market and it's done something, I have my 3 plans. If it goes up, I do blah. If it goes down, I do meh. And if it goes sideways, I do
huh? Meh,
you can quote me on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jake says, great. Thank you. And Matthew with the follow-up says, speaking of Carrot, when did they drop their percentage to 5-ish and add all these other boost things, which they do not explain well? Dang, shots fired.
As you know, we are just 2 people sharing their opinions on the internet.
But for what it's worth, I would say they're a startup company like anybody else. They don't have a direct primary audience relationship. They're building products. They're technical people. So they need feedback like that. I don't know. What would you say? Alex, do you have any explanation for the percentage, though, to answer the question?
I mean, they don't set the percentage. Market sets percentage. So if the way that they aggregate yield is to comb through and combine yield opportunities from a whole bunch of different places at the same time and consolidate it into the CRT token, which is another really interesting token to look into, the how it's constructed. But no, I mean, they don't set that. They don't make that up. You can go check yields for borrowing and lending protocols. That's a Solana protocol. So go look at other Solana borrowing and lending. Go look at Caminos. Go look at Jupiter's. Go look at Jitos. The rates are all going to be very similar because those big protocols are the ones who set the rate based on supply and demand. How many people are trying to borrow, how many people are currently supplying. Right now is a time in the market when more people are supplying and less people are borrowing. More people are stabled and sitting there waiting for something more clear direction to pop out of the market and tell them like, hey, it's more confident. It's a more confident time for you to open a long or short something or to just go buy spot or whatever. And so in the interim, when things are really uncertain, you usually see stablecoin rates go down because more people are supplying and fewer people are borrowing. So, it kind of changes the game. It's better to farm yield during times when prices are going up because more people are out borrowing to buy more than they are supplying, locking up because they think they're going to, hit a higher return on the trades. But the sneaky secret is that if you just consistently yield farm the entire time, your average percentage will be higher than almost any trader. So, right now I would expect rates to stay lower for a while, especially as long as, times are sketchy.
I would expect that too. And I would say, if you have questions for them, that screen share I showed, or for people in podcast land who couldn't see it, it's docs.deficarrot.com. And if there's something there that isn't clearly explained to you that you still have questions about, bring him to the community. We know JSB. We'd be glad to have him back on the show. And we want that protocol to succeed because honestly, we think they would be a great fit for sponsorship and we could help them tell a better story. So, thanks for the question. Not paid, not sponsored, but
and Ethicalish there, please feel free to, if you wanted to send me like a brief write-up of what would be like more helpful for you in terms of like how boost could be described, I will just text James and tell him. He's specifically asking for feedback about that. They're going through a UI upgrade to try to make the dashboard better and more consolidated. Right now, when you look at stuff on Carrot, it's all split up into different sections and they want it all in one place. I've seen the beta. It looks really, really good, but it's not live right now. So
it needs feedback. And
definitely.
Shout out to Ethicalish. It's great to see Matthew. Thank you for stopping by. I missed you. I've been wondering about you, my fellow tall friend. If you've got a question, you know what to do. Leave it in the comments. I would love, actually. He's tall too. Yeah, I tried to get him into Tall Dow. I took a picture. He took a picture by his truck, so we could like prove his height based on the model of the truck. And I sent it to the talls. And I said, what does the council think? Will we accept this as proof of tall? Because usually the only consensus on proof of tall is a selfie with a current member. And I said, he's a friend of the show, part of the community. I trust him. He hasn't doctored this photo, but they said, listen, it's the spirit of the thing. You got to be there together in person. And they rejected his application to join the DAO. So when we get together in real life, the first thing I am doing after I give him a big hug is I'm taking a selfie with him and welcoming him back home to Tall DAO.
Have you seen that creator who like can buy, I don't know, a brick in the background, figure out exactly how tall someone is?
Yeah. Those are
you got to hire that guy.
Yes. Yeah. That's
Tall DAO's got to retain that guy.
Dixie Fireboy wants to know, how tall do you have to be for Tall DAO? You got to be a woman 5'10" or over, a man 6'3" or over. And if you're European, somebody do some conversions. I think it's 178 centimeters for women and 190 for men. Somebody give me
take your word for it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep, sounds legit.
This seems like a great place. We're talking a little about leverage, about risk. I would really like to return to you, Tom, and just ask a little more about how, as an educator and now, a certified CDAA digital asset advisor, like you are thinking about risk. I'd love to know the kinds of questions that folks in your life and your audience are bringing to you. And if you have anywhere you want to take that conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. I do find myself so the CDAA that I just got through the DEC Institute, which is kind of like a conglomerate of all these universities around the world that come together and basically teach different aspects of blockchain. And while they teach the basics of it, they kind of cover regulatory and legal, they cover business and economics. And then the third leg is like technical architecture of like how the blockchain itself works. It's really interesting because I love that aspect of it for the purpose of then reaching back down to the basics of like people that actually want to know risk on those levels, right? So it's not necessarily technical analysis where you're actively judging the charts based on recent movements, but rather trying to understand the project that you're getting involved in itself and then determining risk from that point of view. So yeah, a lot of it for me starts off with people in my area. We really start off with basically Bitcoin. Let's understand how Bitcoin works. It's the oldest mechanism. You can grow out of that and say, hey, I don't like Bitcoin. It's too slow. It's too whatever. But regardless of all that, as a learning tool, I really do think that there is no better place to start than understanding the 8 pages of the Bitcoin white paper. And then from there, it got me just asking why. And that's what kind of led me down my path to find these courses and become a chartered digital asset analyst. So, but.
Does that come with a pay raise? An office? Do you got to wear a tie now?
Right. No. So that was one of the requirements when I go down this line. I said, I don't need to have any changes in my day to day. This was actually just for my own edification. And then basically the only thing that it does give me the opportunity for is now I can be a competent member of a consultant. So anything from an attorney to a financial office, people that are very good at helping their clients with financial tools, but maybe they don't quite understand the blockchain side of things. That's where I can come in. So I'm not speaking directly to their clients. I'm educating those services so that they can better service those clients, if that makes sense. But,
yeah, that's great because, you know, something I'm always wondering, Alex, I know we share this skepticism, is like some of these credentialing organizations, and I'm not saying this about the DEC, you know,
Sure.
but some credentialing organizations are like a little scammy. They seem like a for-profit business that is interested in like, I don't know. I had a conversation with somebody I really respect and admire about how I can help people who are like asset managers or maybe a lawyer or judge who's dealing with blockchain in a case. And they were saying you should get a credential. And I was saying, you know, the ones I've looked at, they just seem a little rudimentary. Like I have yet to find a program that makes me think, and this may be will sound arrogant of me, but I'm going to risk it. Like just the stuff we have learned through experience, or the stuff we're learning right now at kind of the edge of this stuff. I feel like there's probably not many people who could go toe to toe about, I don't know, what does this EIP actually do? And I'm not even a technical person. You know what I mean? I don't want to give somebody my money just to give me a credential. I did that in graduate school, and I'm still a little traumatized about it. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So how did you assess this organization to determine, this is the one for me? And do you have any others that you would recommend for someone like me who would want to help? Maybe a family office in my city, because that's something I would like to do more, be a professional witness or something like that.
Yeah, no, that's a great line of questioning. And I'll be honest, I'll explain up to a point what my analysis was, but there was a point where I had to take a leap of faith, right? This industry is so new that going down any of these paths, I don't know anybody else, even with my wide reaching, you know, audience and just our community and stuff like that. I didn't know anybody that had gone down the academic path for blockchain. So yeah, I could analyze it till the cows come home, as we say in the Midwest. But eventually, I kind of had to say, this is good enough. It's time to put a little bit of money where my mouth is, and let's see where this journey takes me. And that's ultimately what I did. But yeah, so what I wanted to get to real quick to answer your question as far as how did I determine that path, I've kind of broken it down into about 4 or 5 different academic paths that I could have gone down. And ultimately, I'll cut to the chase. The CDAA that I went for, I was impressed by the fact that they had real universities from around the globe. I mean, we're talking University of Toronto. I forget which universities in these specific countries, but you had the university out of Switzerland, the UK, I believe India was a part of it, and probably 6 or 7 more that were very highly accredited. And so when they go through and they filter the actual information that they're giving to you, you can be reasonably confident that it's kind of like a blockchain, right? Each of those universities don't want to be associated with another university putting out incorrect or non-factual information. So that was one of my big priorities, meaning there's kind of a checks and balance because there's so many, let's just say, prestigious universities a part of this. That gave me my first step of confidence to go with the DEC. And in general, I would say the chartered certification that I went with was more of your university style education. So it's both higher level, but it sticks to a broad range of the basics, right? Whereas you can do other certifications like the Blockchain Council certification, and that's going to be more of your early learning, general learning, early understanding, more beginners based, but still a broad based learning. So different levels of the same topics, right? And then finally, there's more technical certifications, as you would imagine, more computer programming oriented. How are you going to work with Solidity, Solidity and things like that so that you can actually be a developer on chain? That was never really an option for me. I was able to kind of cross that off. My mindset has never been one to be able to program. My hat goes off to those that do, because wow, is that an impressive endeavor to really develop, and I think they're going to be put into a really good career and workspace as they learn through that. And really, the last two have to do with things that, I'll be honest, while being very important to the industry, do not interest me as much. I touched on this before. Part of the studying that I did was regulatory and legal. And that was some of the hardest stuff with the CDAA that I went for, only because, as you would imagine, the regulatory landscape is changing so quickly. And the education, let's just say the syllabus, the content of the education that we were going on was based on 2018 to 2022. So when people ask like, hey, why'd you stop making videos and things like that? I said, I actually had to stop learning new and recent and current stuff for the purpose of passing the exam, because there were no credible institutions out there that were keeping up like you and I do on a regular basis for the day-to-day regulatory changes. Alex, I saw you make a face, and I know that comes with some thoughts.
If we're doing policy and legal education about this space from 2018 to 2022, not a single thing communicated there is relevant. Correct. Absolutely. And so that's one of the things I wanted to be transparent about. So I absolutely agree that was probably one of my least fruitless endeavors, was that section. Now, thank goodness I was around and paying attention to crypto at that time, so it wasn't that terrible for me to kind of wind my brain back to that date and those time frames. But to someone that's really trying to understand the brand new topics of today, that would not do them any good, right? So again, I'm here to be transparent about here's the good and here's the bad about what happened, and that was definitely a frustrating thing, and ultimately took way more energy to not keep up on current events. So and then the last thing is there's something that I guess you can get that's a CAIA digital assets, which is more in line with bridging finance from the traditional standpoint into crypto. So I guess that's a little bit more Series 7 kind of thing out of the traditional finance, and where they just kind of gleam a little bit over into what the crypto world is. And that to me wasn't as enticing as just having a broad knowledge to be able to convey the message clearly and concisely to other people that are trying to get into it. So that was more of my purpose, is I wanted to be a blockchain liaison more than anything else.
You know, that's ultimately what I struggle with. Is I think I'd like to try one of these programs myself. I did a little Googling just to see like the CDAA, some of the example questions, and some of them are, I would say, pretty relevant and helpful. And I wish more of our colleagues would take these tests. It's a multiple choice test, and I kind of just want to go sit in the exam room and see what it's like, see who shows up there, and then try to sell them my latest meme coin. I'm just kidding.
Nice. That intrigue was exactly what got me to buy and actually do the first course. I said, it's something to do. It's a hobby. And, I'll be honest with you, it took me about 9-10 months to actually pass the exam. But I loved the journey itself. I mean, while there were things that I was learning 6 years ago, the stuff that I actually learned that were applicable to the actual tech and the actual function of today's industry was priceless. It connected a lot of dots that you just don't get in our conversations. So
I want to highlight some of these conversations here. This one from Judy says, and I love this: "You kids are my only news in the morning, getting ready for work. Legit podcast, no BS, no rug pulls. And I am going to wear that kid like an honorific all the way to the bank." I just love that most of the people like Judy who are listening this early in the morning and would use that honorific are in fact in a position that they could say, yeah, Evan, you remind me of my kid. It keeps me young. And I want to shout out this comment from Blast from the Past here, David. Tom, you may not have caught this, but a couple of weeks ago, we had an episode where David came in the comments, and one of the more common comments that we help folks with is when they ask us, is this or that website, is this or that token legit? Is it a scam?
Mhm.
So one of the biggest reasons we do this education is to try and help people recognize the telltale signs, especially of pig butchering, the most common kind of crypto scam. David came in and had told us about a site called Max Caps. There is a legitimate company called Max Caps, but the website he was interacting with was not legitimate. It was advertising a copy trading service where you could deposit money and supposedly deploy it in a number of passive strategies that would make you money in crypto. They had lots of reviews on their website. I love this, made lots of money. We've given out hundreds of millions of dollars to thousands of people who are satisfied with our services. And he came into the comments today. Good to see you, David, to confirm that our analysis was right. MaxCaps.pro is a scam. They wouldn't let him withdraw his money unless he paid them $1,700. Oh my gosh. Tom, do you see that kind of thing a lot? And do you have any tips to help people, especially people who are, you know, maybe they've been in it for a minute and they're still navigating, but they don't know everything to look for? Spot a scam, spot a scheme, stay safe out here on the internet.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you guys are doing are probably one of the more primary tools that I would recommend is developing a way to ask a multitude of trusted sources. You can obviously find websites where you can basically find out if, you know, let's just say we're talking about a scam coin. You can find out if the code behind it was copied from an actual scam coin in previous history. So there's tools like that out there. You can talk to community members and double check with other people. So even if you don't personally have the knowledge of how to research something before you dive in, do not do a knee-jerk reaction. Talk to somebody, use one of those tools, and that's basically it. Be skeptical, but make the market prove itself to you.
That's a great tip. Skepticism, always. If it seems too good to be true, bad news, it probably is.
Yeah.
So David says, thank you. You guys are great. We appreciate you, David. Thanks for trusting us to help. If you've got a question that you need help with, the thing I always say to people who come to the community for the first time is, hey, if you're new, tell us more about what you've tried so far. Have you bought some Bitcoin? Have you looked on CoinGecko or listened to some folks on Facebook or TikTok to learn about crypto? And then what are you trying to understand right now? And today, especially, I do want to invite you to the community at community.rumshq. Every Thursday, we do an after show. We're live for the Rise Up Morning Show Monday through Thursday, 7 a.m. Central Standard Time. But on Thursdays, we go to the community, we open a video call, and we invite everybody to come. It's like the show, except instead of just us talking to each other, and you in the comments, you can get up on stage, you can come on the microphone or share your video if you want to say hi and ask us your crypto question personally in a dialogue. We can have a back and forth that isn't, Tom was saying before the show about like trying to paste in the comments with only 140 characters, how frustrating that can be, especially when you're trying to learn. So head over to community.rumshq.com. When we wrap up the show today in about 30 minutes, I'll have a quick break, take the dogs to the bathroom, and then we will start the after show. When you get there, if you don't know where to go, just tell anybody, hi, new, looking for the after show, and they'll hook you up with a link. Tom, as our guest, I'm glad to defer to you. You had a question yesterday about staking and some of the risks associated with it, but
Sure.
You know, what else is on your mind? What are you excited to teach people about, talk about today?
Sure. Yeah. So one of my companies that I work with, that I run, is just kind of leaning into the understanding of different aspects of staking. And I was fortunate enough to be able to be staking my Ethereum right now. So learning how validators work was one thing that I was trying to focus on. But I'll admit, I immediately pivoted to using some, and this is not a plug. This is just me being transparent again.
Sure.
I use Kiln, which actually had a booth at Toronto, but I was using Kiln prior to that. So it was kind of like seeing a little crypto superstar. But if you're not familiar with what Kiln does, they facilitate the staking of validators and liquidity pools, depending on how much of your staking tokens that you have, to generate passive income. And so I've actually been trying to understand and better use their platform kind of as a delegator. And what I really have been finding interesting, I don't know if they have the news article up on there right now, but basically I was able to find the updates that are coming to the Ethereum network over the course of 2026.
Okay.
There's some concerns going on in the community that I haven't had a chance to really dive deep yet. And that's kind of at the core as to what I was asking about staking securities and things like that, because as Ethereum evolves, it's totally understandable that there may be times where it's at a weaker point, just because if they shift some kind of gas fee structure or anything like that, it has down the river effects. So I don't know if you guys have seen any of that. Alex, maybe you have any kind of knowledge on what I'm talking about.
I had it on my notes to ask you to expand on that, because I'm not.
Okay.
I
And
wasn't
that might
too
be
sure
so in the
what you were
weeds
going
right
for.
now. That's totally fine.
Yeah, but we probably can give a take on it. It's unclear to me if you're. So I know that there are queues cleared, and that's changed staking recently. There's a lot of talk about, what staking rewards will be, what incentives there are for staking.
Yeah, and of course, anything that impacts staking and rewards that may have an effect on the amount that's locked up, which of course directly influences the security of the base layer of Ethereum. So I guess, let's see here.
Look at the validator queue now, because I remember seeing that at the front of the year. Validator queue.
I think maybe they were talking about the reduced rewards rate due to the fact that they're reducing gas prices. And since they reduce gas prices, that may allow the introduction of more malicious actors on chain. Just because the whole idea of it is the security is, hey, if we make every transaction roughly 30 cents on Ethereum, you're not going to be able to have someone that just blasts the system with a whole bunch of malicious activity. Whereas now that we're trying to reduce the fees so that the honest users can better navigate and better use things, you have less friction. You're also going to have less friction for the malicious actors. So I think that's one of the concerns that I'm seeing right now in the Ethereum space. And I'm very curious as to see how the Ethereum, let's just say, developers are choosing to address that.
What you got, Alex?
Just I was, after you said the number, I was curious what we're sitting at right now. And
Sure.
this is a good example of one of those things we talked about the other day, how, different types of transactions carry different weights on chain and have different prices because they are easier or harder to continue or to execute. So looks pretty good. I mean, an NFT sale is one of the most complicated single transactions you can make, and sitting at 21 cents, that's kind of crazy.
But I do want to say too, right now the market's not exactly hot, so it would be interesting to see the same spread of information during a hot market, which obviously we can't just turn on and off at will. But
no, certainly. But you can also you can go through and you can check historical data on this, and actually it is remarkable how consistently good it's been for, I would say, the last 18 months, really.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that you really can't just constantly eroding the ability to say, that it's impassable because of fee cost.
Right.
And I think along with that, I would imagine the reason that the concern is there is just because the reason that people will happily, and by people I also do mean the institutions everyone's always harping about, will happily pay that gas 5 times over, is for the security that comes with it.
Right.
And the access to liquidity that comes with it.
Just keep in mind what I'm trying to dive into is the most recent upgrade, I think, went live in December, the Fusaka upgrade.
Yes.
I wonder if that had any, that's why I'm just saying if we go back 18 months, it may
certainly
not paint the same picture as far as what the changes might have been.
Well, and here, let me see if I can pull this back to just December. I don't know if Milk Road has the. Let me poke around and see if I can find that, because we did look. We were looking as Fusaka was going live, and it was making a difference.
Okay.
Yeah, and generally speaking, for Ethereum, whose story is a tale of continued innovation in the direction of faster, cheaper, blockchains, they have a limited resource, which is like space in these, let me take it one more step back. In the past, we've talked about how blockchain networks are like shared ledgers, like a magic notebook that all the members of a network like Ethereum might use together. And the people who do the work of updating these notebooks, our collective copies of the notebook, depending on the type of network, they may be called validators. That's what they're called in Ethereum. They're sort of like people who have earned the right to have their own copy of the notebook. In Ethereum, to become a validator, the requirements used to be higher, and often they are in favor of reducing these for people. You had to put up a significant amount of money in the form of Ethereum tokens to earn the right to do it if your computer could, meet the hardware requirements. The hardware requirements used to be much heavier. The monetary requirements used to be much higher. And just like the blockchain is moving in the direction of faster, cheaper, they're also moving in the direction of more democratic, who can own and update a notebook. So
shout out though to ETH being cheaper, because it's cheaper to get involved at the validator level when prices go down. It's if that's something on your radar, it's a good time to be like starting to think about that more.
That's exactly right.
Hoping we get cheaper ETH, but
when data is cheaper on the ETH layer, it means that people building on top, building layer 2s, can scale those things faster, cheaper. Your transactions can be executed more smoothly. And we're preparing for a future where Ethereum is like the backbone of the future internet. Now, these people, they put up a lot of energy to do this job. It is an energy intensive thing, and they are compensated with fees, including tips, to get your transactions included in the limited space on every page. That's like each of these blocks linked to the one before it in a chain. The blockchain are like the pages in a notebook. There are only so many lines on this page. There are only so many little bits of data that you can put in a block. So over time, they are trying to make their pages more efficient by making the handwriting of the entries smaller, or increasing the size of the page, maybe would be a good metaphor. But all these little technical changes also mean, if I'm paying less per transaction, that's good for me. I might transact more. But to Tom's concern, maybe the people maintaining the notebooks aren't going to have an incentive to do their job well if it's not worth it for them. Nobody's going to want to go work at McDonald's if they can't make a livable wage. It's that kind of a thing. And we need validators and their incentives to remain strong, because that's what secures the network. If you wanted to take over the ETH network, you'd have to compromise not just one validator. You'd have to compromise a majority of validators. And so for a network like ETH that has thousands, this is a very difficult thing that makes the network very secure. But I don't know. My take is, I think validator incentives are continuing to and will continue to remain strong, because there are other fees that replace things like gas revenue. As gas gets cheaper, you've got stuff like data availability fees, something called a blob data fee. This was introduced a couple of upgrades back. Rollups are also becoming now the biggest fee paying users of Ethereum layer 2s. That you might think of as
to continue to trend up.
Yeah, me too. And also, as DeFi grows and there are more liquidations, there are more opportunities for arbitrage, more orders coming in and out of the book, all of that's going to increase validator revenue opportunities. Go ahead.
Not to mention, like we saw with polygons, I don't think it was the most recent at this point, but it was a late 60s. I don't know what Polygon improvement proposal is next.
Oh, dude,
number-wise, I don't remember. Anyway, there was one relatively recently. Might have been 669 that improved token utility, specifically to expand DeFi optionality for Pol. And that's when you might have noticed, actually, on your transaction breakdown, like if you're using Awaken, for example, if you're staking, now you have a record of receiving D-Pol as a token, even if it's not something you're holding, which is a change from that proposal that expands staking utility for native tokens to allow you to track it more easily, and then also enhance like liquid staking functionality so that Pol can be used in more DeFi stuff, which was cool, which is obviously built on Ethereum. So that existed for ETH already, and now expanding to the L2. So again, another trend that I would expect to see continue.
So you've got people arguing in the comments. Was it 6.9? 6.7, and then Bearded shout out with the fact check comes in to say the recent proposal PIP was PIP 82.
Thank you. Yeah, the one I was talking about is PIP 69. That's from last year.
Damn, you'll find. The other thing, to Tom's question about like the monetary design, the tokenomics of Ethereum, issuance of ETH adjusts mathematically, not necessarily automatically, but like it does, when this happens, then this changes. So if like the amount of yield in terms of like ETH tokens that are paid out to validators in the forms of fees or whatever, if that drops, then some validators are going to exit. What's that going to do? That's going to mean that whatever is left is going to be split among whoever remains. And so the yield percentage is going to go up. And that's going to increase staking APR, and that's going to bring more demand to the system. And so it has this kind of like equilibrium mechanism built in that I think long-term, Ethereum is going to evolve from being this like, it's secured by its fees to it's secured by its stake. More people are going to be able to stake over time. More people are going to be participating in the network as like add-on layers, layer twos, as individual stakers who are making the network secure. And I think it's probably the best incentive model in the space.
Sure. I have a couple of points to the topic at hand here. First, I just wanted to briefly mention the CDAA level 1 is level 1 of 3. So I do intend on eventually moving forward, but the good news is there's no time limit, so I get to take a little break now. The reason I bring that up right now is because level 2 is exactly what we were.
Tom.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, before you move on, you said there's no time limit. Is there like an upkeep requirement, a certain number of anything that you have to get done in the interim to like maintain the certification, or?
Another fantastic question. So there are some designations on the DEC's website that do require a certain amount of annual continuing education courses. One of the reasons that I went with the chartered route is there is not. That is a lifetime designation. And then basically you can either stop at level 1 or you continue on, but each time you choose to pass that next exam, you now have a higher level and a higher accreditation with them. So that's perfect question for the chartered route that I went. But I guess real quick, the reason that I brought up level 2 in the first place was I started doing just a few practice quizzes. I use a few AI agents to go through and like, hey, give me some example questions that I can study from. That's primarily how I studied for this first exam, along with re-listening to lectures. And basically the level 2 talks about the psychology of why upgrades and why architecture within the blockchain is developed the way it does. Meaning, if you ever wondered why the gas fee was increased by, let's just say 300% and not immediately, just going to the biggest side, the biggest limit that it could possibly be, they actually go through and explain a little bit of the psychology behind it. So anyways, just making a brief mention, that's level 2. And that really does interest me because the base level is just kind of a little bit more technical, analytical, make sure that you know what you're doing, have a firm ground that you're standing on. Level 2 is when you actually start to get inside the head of the developers. And I think that's just really enticing.
Yeah, 100%, because they're like games, like strategy games or economic systems that somebody built and that are growing, launching in real time.
Yeah, absolutely. And then along with that same idea where you were talking about basically Ethereum's growth over time and how it might kind of morph and change and stuff like that. Have you guys taken a look at the bull case for ETH? I think it's on ethoil.com. I don't actually have the link here, but I think it's like ETH Digital Oil or something along those lines, where it was an actual appraisal report of Ethereum. And now they go back and they kind of say, here's where Ethereum's at, here's where they project it in the future. And they do actually get to some price points that, of course, they assume is going to happen in the future. But the main value proposition is when Ethereum and AI fully integrate. That's like the main summary of this report. But if you go in there, they do make some really good, simple comparisons to explain to people and say, listen, if you understand Bitcoin's value proposition is kind of rooted in scarcity by a cap to the overall amount of Bitcoin that'll ever be in existence. Ethereum doesn't have that limit, but it has a limitation on issuance, meaning it can only issue so much at such a fast rate. That's what ultimately introduces the scarcity on the Ethereum level. And I just thought that was really interesting, a way to think of the two being different from a scarcity standpoint.
I like that a lot. And I think that's a really good comparison. I want to show a chart here. This is from validatorq.com because I was just looking to see, like, you know, some information. They tell you about, like, are people waiting to become validators in the network? Are they waiting to exit the network? What's the APY like? That kind of stuff. But one of the charts for people in podcast land that I've got here is the total supply staked of ETH tokens over time. And they have both the total number expressed in millions of tokens staked and a percentage of tokens staked, like of all the available supply, how much is currently staked. And this chart is going up and to the right. Another thing that makes ETH valuable as money and which secures it as a network, and this is like a flywheel here, is that over time, the incentive is for people to stake their ETH and for more people to stake. So imagine an army of soldiers and they've got shields, okay? Big shields, full body shields, like, you know, an old, you know, Greek war movie or something. And it starts off with just 10 people, 10 shields. And then some people come and stand next to them and they've got shields. Each of us staking our ETH, you know, not all of us is a validator with 32 ETH tokens that we are locking up. But even if you're just locking up, you know, 0.32 ETH or 0.032 ETH, you are adding like a piece of armor to this big wall that is composed of more soldiers over time, bigger and smaller shields over time. And to attack the network, somebody would have to really not just get through a lot of different weak points, but they would have to spend a lot of money. They would have to spend to like credibly attack this, whatever half of 36 million. So 18 million times, what's the price of ETH right now? 18 million times $2,000. You're talking $360 million. Is that right? Somebody check my math. You'd have to spend a lot of money to credibly attack the network. It's extremely costly.
Something million times something thousand will give you a billion.
Billion. Thank you, Alex.
You were only off by several thousand.
About
times.
$1 billion. Oh man!
I love Alex is always there to give us that solid guidance. Like, no, there's no rose-colored glasses here. You're wrong.
Yeah, no, he's straight up with me, and of course, hot on his heels is a bearded chief fact check officer of the show.
There it is.
Okay, it's about that time where we start thinking about riding our dogs and ponies into the sunset, or in my case, taking them outside before we start the after show. I'm going to give everybody all of Tom's links. They'll be in the description wherever you are, whenever you listen, so you can connect with him, follow up, encourage him as he pursues continuing education and helps other people learn. But I'd love to know if you're seeing anything, Alex, in the comments. If you have a final thought or question you want to share, or Tom, if there's anything we didn't ask you about that you want to talk about. I have just one more question for you, which is about the topic of food reviews. In addition to crypto content that is helpful and clear, you have done some pretty epic reviews of tasty food. The pasty conversation from earlier. Do you have a favorite cuisine? Can we expect more food content in the future? What do you got in that oeuvre for us?
Absolutely. I'll give a little plug to my secret or just hobby channel, I suppose, of Primetime Tommy here on TikTok. And that's really all it is every once in a while I get in the mood where I want to channel my Emeril Lagasse. If you're familiar at all with any of those TV chefs back in the day, some of my
shout out Emeril
memories was watching Emeril Lagasse on TV. So
fun fact, Emeril is the first celebrity that I ceremoniously invited to something as a child.
I'm sorry, what? The first, meaning
That
you
is
as a
too
child
cool.
we're often inviting. What does it even mean to invite someone
You know, it's just
ceremoniously?
okay, maybe you never lived as a kid. When you have like an event, like a school play or a birthday party, and you just like invite a celebrity because it would be really cool if they showed up, and they're not going to, but like once in a blue moon, something like that happens. Like someone who invites George Clooney to their wedding or something like that. You've never seen that?
Yeah, but like when you were a kid, what did you do? You didn't get on TikTok. Did you like look up his address in the phone book and write him a letter?
Yeah, he had a PO box to send him a letter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you kind of get you start off with doing that with like things like Santa Claus and stuff, and then you elevate yourself to the people you see on TV.
To Emerald.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so I always, as a kid, pictured myself, when I was making my gourmet bologna sandwiches and things like that, I'd take a little extra pride and act like I was on TV like Emerald, and I'd make a mess all over the kitchen. And that's where the fun that my parents would teach me about cleaning up my messes would start. But yeah, that's where I channel it into that food channel. And I would say, most of the time it's just food that I end up being passionate about. I named it Primetime Tommy because at the time I love cooking prime rib. Like I would do that for the holidays. I would do it for myself and my wife. But at the end of the day, if it's food that has my interest, I think a few of them on there are things like grilled cheese, regular steaks, spicy Diablo cheeseburgers, whatever strikes me that day. I let that channel through and make a video about it with my passion. So yeah,
that sounds amazing.
There was a couple on there that I splurged a little bit in a more sad note. My grandfather passed away a few years back, and right before that moment, his birthday was coming up, and I bought him and my parents their first ever Wagyu steak. That was something that was important to me. I wanted him to try it. He was one of those guys that had a major influence on my cooking. Him and my grandmother always took such great care. They're more of the Italian descent, and they really focused on bringing food into the love with our family. So when I knew that, he grew up in hard times, he never really knew or cared what Wagyu was. He wasn't a luxurious guy by any stretch of the imagination, but I knew he would appreciate it. So I actually made a video on there of me cooking a Wagyu steak for him. And I was happy to do that right before he passed away. So it was a nice little video that I go back to every once in a while when I'm feeling sentimental.
That is cool, man.
Yeah.
Nothing like family and food, dude. Nothing like it. Okay. Since that's my question, I defer to you now. Is there anything that we didn't ask you about that you wanted to share with our audience? Do you have an ask for them? Anything they can do to support you or that you'd like them to know before you say bye-bye for now today?
Sure. Yeah. There's one more thing that I just want to shout out there that I'm personally proud of. It doesn't require you to do much of anything, but I will say if you want to follow TJ Ledger here on TikTok, I actually chose that name because that is where I chose to put my author name. And I say author name because I'm actually working on a book series where the underlying narrative is a educational blockchain narrative. So I'm trying to follow my passion for things like Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, but I shrink it down to a more kid-friendly idea of action and adventure. And then I do that by building a world. Right now, it's just like a little blockchain island where all these different characters get to go through and have adventures, but they're interacting with animals and let's just say natural formations, all which have the vocabulary of blockchain things, all kind of operating in the way that you would imagine a blockchain world would. And then from there, I'm actually looking to expand into more books that go into maybe the teens with a little bit more, how do I want to say, technical growth with the vocabulary so that readers can actually join in at any level of their growth if they're interested and learn while they're having fun and going on these fun little fantasy adventures. So
nice.
Yeah, that's really my last little plug there.
That is T.J.Ledger on TikTok. And if you're looking for finding Tom on Facebook, you can check out Tommy Guarisco. It's Thomas with an H dot Guarisco, spelled just like it appears here on the screen, .3. Or if you can't find him, then, come to the show page. We'll help you get in touch with him. We know how to find him. And we're just so glad that you made time for coming on today and helping us answer folks' questions. It's really great to have you, man.
Thank you so much for having me on, guys. It was wonderful meeting you guys in person in Toronto last May, and it's still awesome seeing you guys power through over the last year and really turn this show into something monumental and impressive, and something that the industry, in my opinion, really needed. So thank you for doing what you do.
We're honored, man. Alex, do you see any questions in the comments we need to grab before we go, or do you have a final thought you'd like to share?
I have several. So
hell yeah. I knew you would.
Rapid fire collection of interesting little links. So shout out Sivish for tossing this out. I missed this, but I think 3 days ago, the 20 millionth Bitcoin was mined. So that's cool.
Wow.
Officially.
Very cool. Very cool.
Officially only 114 years to go to mine the next and final million.
Wow.
So that's fun.
So crazy.
But then it just made me think, like, one thing that's kind of fun. I was showing my mom this the other day when she was here. This is my favorite block explorer that exists. So
sure.
Oh yes.
this
Give
is
us the link.
This is mempool.space, mempool.space. And it's a Bitcoin blockchain explorer. But it's fun because it has this really cool little visualization here of, oh, there it goes, of the blocks being built. And,
these are like the pages in the notebook.
Very much so. And every single one of these is a transaction that's being submitted and is sitting in this, which is the mempool, which is where transactions on a blockchain sit as they're waiting to be confirmed. And you can follow it and watch it happen in real time. And then over here, up at the top, you can see this this little timeline progress. And you can see, so on this side, the bluish, purplish ones are the blocks that have been mined and confirmed. You can see which miner specifically was the one who nailed that one. Usually it's Foundry, but it looks like Antpool's on a bit of a kick right now. Oh, no, we didn't have to go back very far to find some Foundry blocks. But anyway, there's a few. And then here are the ones that are coming up and in roughly how long. So these are blocks being built. So that's kind of cool. Average block time right now, 10.4 minutes. Anyway, then, you know, all this, this is my favorite little visualization. There's more stuff you can do over here, but then let's see which one. Okay, so here's another good one. This is just blockchain.com looking at Bitcoin circulating supply. There's a gajillion different things that you can chart on this one, or look at just a really good place to get a bunch of data. They collect Bitcoin and Ethereum data, so that's a fun one. As I was poking around looking for historical data about ETH gas, I went and looked at Etherscan because they also have a gas tracker. So I know we're breezing through these.
That's great.
This is Etherscan. So this is Ethereum's flagship blockchain explorer. And actually, we can see that Milk Roads might be a little bit high on their estimate. So actually, and this is kicking up right now as we speak, but we're still like less than a penny on your standard ETH transactions, which
Alex,
is
before you move on, can we just define a word that has been on screen here? What is a GWE for people who are uninitiated?
It's a unit of measurement to break down an ether. So ether is the native token that runs the Ethereum blockchain, and you can think about GWE similarly to how you would think about a Satoshi, which is a 100 millionth of a Bitcoin. You know, GWE breaks down ether, and we just use it to track gas because it's more specific.
Yeah, the pennies of ETH.
Yes.
Call them GWE.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I like how a lot of the tools that I find most fascinating are just different visuals of how to wrap your mind around all the complex things that we're trying to analyze. But to me, it's just another way of rediscovering the same puzzle. So I appreciate that.
On its face, everything that we're talking about here is just a different way to store different kinds of data and organize it and use it. So, you know, that's what we're looking at here. There was a question earlier about Blockchain Explorer. So yes, big fan. And I still think that learning how to get data specifically from a blockchain rather than relying on someone else telling it to you is the most important thing that you could learn in this entire industry. So honestly, just like going to Etherscan or blockchain.com or mempool.space or any one of them, every blockchain has an explorer. If a blockchain does not have an explorer, that's a problem. And actually, to take it back to the one that we were looking at last night, that was like my major issue with that X whatever thing, was that the only explorer was just a front end maintained by them on their website, but there was no ledger to actually look at or get any data from. And none of these blockchain explorers, I mean, if you don't like Etherscan, you can pick a different one. There's a bunch. These are all created by other people to read these different blockchains. They're not like maintained or run by, you know, Mr. Ethereum or anything like that. Here's another one that I'm actually not super familiar with, but it came up as I was poking around. This is Ultrasound Money. This one is helping track, you know, the current inflation or deflation of ETH. So it gives you like burn rates, and based on usage and all that kind of good stuff, you can see if there's ever any moments where Ethereum does flip deflationary, which has happened before, is not currently happening. You know, but honestly, the inflation rate is pretty low, which is interesting. So, although here this last week, it's really, oh, this is cool. I wonder what this does. There's a simulate proof of work.
That's kind of neat.
It's a good looking little dashboard.
I like that.
There's gas.
Yeah.
Also low. So yeah, so 12-ish Gwei seems to be like the average right now as it sits. Oh, there's blob gas. There's a lot of cool stuff. And then you'll find all sorts of fun terms. So I mean, these are fun things to rabbit hole down and find, you know, 5 or 6 words that you don't recognize and use that to inform, you know, whatever you read about and learn about. Tori says, is Mr. Ethereum in the room with you? He's always in the room.
Mr. Ethereum.
Who is Mr. Ethereum?
A new mascot is born.
A new mascot. Yeah. Mr. Ethereum. He'd just be like a happy little blob, I would imagine. Or maybe a very gassy blob. That could be it.
I do have to shout out friends of the show, not sponsored, but could be someday. Dune Analytics. They have the ability for you to create all kinds of different dashboards. So if there's like a particular series of data that you are interested in tracking, you can do that with Dune. I mean, just a tremendous amount of information on this website. And then, of course, additional friends of the show, DeFi Llama, which can also create dashboards more interested in, you know, beyond the specifics of on-chain data, but what all it implies and what all you can infer from it. So, you know, market caps of all sorts of different things, the moving and shifting of liquidity on chain, where it's going, which protocols are making revenue, which ones are hemorrhaging money, all that sort of stuff. So another really good one to poke around with and learn stuff. A really good habit to get in. And honestly, this has been like my primary method of learning for the past 5 or 6 years, has been to just spend like some time every day on these things and find some area, some chart, some whatever that I haven't looked at before, and just figure out what it is and why it's important or why it's not important. So there's your rapid fire list of resources for homework.
Excellent. Thank you. If you missed them, you didn't catch them, then don't worry. We will have them in the descriptions of this episode, wherever you are, whenever you listen. And of course, you can get them at community.rumshq.com, which is where we're going to head off to today. It's time, my friends, to say bye-bye to another week of shows. We're kicking off the after show, and the show, of course, lives 24/7. That place I've been saying, community.rumshq.com, where the only thing missing is you. We are grateful to kick off another round of an awesome marketing campaign with our friends at Arculus. Maybe I'll finally be able to get rid of my XRP wallet. We will have the purple wallet soon, and we will have more great crypto Q&A educational content Monday. And wherever you are, whenever you listen. Until then, my friends, thank you for being the very best part of what we do. I hope you'll stay safe. Be well. Until next time, everybody, rise up.